Hello, thanks for joining us for another Insight Tech Talk. My name is John Casebeard, and I'm a service product manager for Connected Workforce at Insight. And joining me today is Sharon Green, who is a service field marketing manager at Dell Technologies. So Sharon, just to set things up here today for our talk, today's employees are really expecting a consumer-like experience in their devices. In this example, if I walk into, any carrier's shop, I can walk out with a cell phone that's ready to go. I can use it. I log in, and all my pictures and everything are there. And that's what people are expecting today when with their working devices as well. And on top of that all, the world seemingly turned upside down and a new normal is emerging. And we're finding that IT teams are struggling on focusing on providing remote workers what they need to provide them a positive working experience while balancing security concerns, budgets, and resources. So, Sharon, can you tell us, how you see your customers reacting to this?
Yeah, John, absolutely. So, our customers are, of course, a lot of them, went into the pandemic thinking, okay, I've got to work through something that's a remote solution to get my people
Mhm.
to where they can work. And that's kind of morphed over the past 18 months to where something that was temporary is now really more of a permanent solution. So now what I put together as temporary, I need to like work through. So customers are in different parts of their journey. Some of them are going back in the office, some of them are staying full-time remote, and some of them are working this hybrid. So it depends on where customers are really in that journey. It's like, are they do they need to finalize that hybrid solution, or do they need to start pulling things back in the office? So it depends on where customers are in the journey. But if customers go to that modern workforce solution, they really are looking at, how do I manage somebody remotely? How do I get systems out to people? How do I adapt my protocols to allow for the security that's needed for a remote workforce? And all that is things that we have to take into consideration as we're helping customers through this journey as it is right now. So, I mean, John, you work with customers every day. Are you seeing IT providing this anywhere, anytime experience, and what does that look like?
Well, so most customers are looking to implement sort of a modern endpoint management solution in order to provide this experience that you're talking about. But for the most part, this is a journey. And the key to any journey is to having a really good plan and have it mapped out and how to get to where you want to go. And so the bottom line is you really need to have a documented plan. And as we look at our customers, the path that they take is a lot different. Some customers are good to go. They know the technologies, they're well aligned, and they go it alone. Others have asked, organizations like us and Dell to go in and help facilitate a series of workshops to figure out what that map looks like and how their journey is going to go. And others have just looked to say, hey, let me use your enablement services to get me there faster. But however you get there, the results can really be staggering. In some of the customers that we've assisted in the past, who have been more on a traditional deployment activities with imaging and so forth, can see things, the length of time to get an asset into a new employee's hands or a new asset into an existing employee's hands take up to 15 to 18 days. And then once that asset's there, then there's a whole procedure that employee has to do to get it functional, change the password, download some apps, download all their documents, etc. And so could lose up to a half day of productivity just getting ready to make that system usable. And so as customers have moved to the modern solution, we've seen that time reduced to anything like 2 to 3 days, which is a great turnaround. And when your employee gets that device, they turn it on and they're good to go. No other bandages need to be taken there. And so we and you, Dell, I think we've helped probably hundreds, if not thousands, of customers on this journey. Um, so, anyways, Sharon, for organizations still operating in sort of this legacy in-house model, how can organizations start to adopt something like device as a service to make this transition smoother over time? And what types of efficiencies would a model like that give them?
So first and foremost, before customers can really start seeing these efficiencies that they're looking for, they have to define where they are. So defining that plan, again, something that, Insight and Dell are well versed in helping our customers, help them with that plan. But once you have that plan, then you start looking about, how do I manage these systems remotely, which can, to your point, with the turnaround time on getting new systems, that's a large efficiency that we see with our customers, is the fact that we're able to provision systems remotely for them and deliver the systems directly to an end user. That's a big part of the efficiency you see, but also being able to manage those environments remotely and manage the security on those devices remotely. I mean, kind of gone are the days where everybody's in an office and you're on one network, and hey, we can facilitate everything because at some point somebody's going to be in the office and we can do that. It's not really that way anymore. So you need to have this a solution that allows you to update a system anytime, anywhere. And that's a lot of where we're seeing these efficiencies, as customers move to these, modern management solutions. And device as a service is a key component of that, because it allows us to take security, this fully managed environment, and roll it into a solution that actually helps our customers get there. So, endpoint management can take planning, and it takes customers a lot of time, and many times they're concerned about the cost that's going to be required to move through this journey. What have you seen when working through this journey with customers?
Yeah, so we have seen device as a service be a good option for customers that are really need to make some investments to get to this modern management model a little bit more palatable while keeping their devices refreshed. So, in fact, I was reading an IDC survey that said basically around 40% of their respondees have been looking for DAS as a model to address some of their IT needs. And so, when you really unpack that, many customers are actually looking at DAS because they're just starting to question, how do they consume devices today, and do they really want to own, thousands of PCs and have to refresh them every 3 to 4 years? Is there a better way? So DAS offers them a path there, so that they can move towards a per device per month model that can help them accelerate the refresh of devices and keep them consistent over year to year, and from a budget standpoint, consistent over a year over year, as well as free up budget in the front end that they could use to fast track modern endpoint management, their managed endpoint journey. So no matter where you are in the journey, you can always use device as a service, whether you use it right out of the gate to do everything, or use it up in the front end to free up some capital in year one to make an investment in really fast tracking that journey of modern management. There's just actually no real right path, but DAS does provide an option to help smooth things out and make it just a little bit more palatable. So, I think, if we reflect, and, we lost Colin Powell recently, and he had a quote that the longer you wait to make a decision, the more likely that decision will be made for you, and you're not necessarily going to like the outcome. And so, Sharon, I'll just ask you, what would be the impact of customers that are not taking action now and just, going, as it goes right now?
I mean, I think first and foremost, it's employee productivity. And I think that's the reason customers are looking to make this transition. Research shows that, a PC that's 4 years old is 3 times more likely to need repair. And this usually, IDC says this results in about 157 hours of productive time lost, which is, 3 times the amount of newer PCs. So device as a service makes it easier for our customers to allocate that time, and resources, to making these strategic moves. And like I said, that at the end of the day supports the customer's business goals. At the end of the day, the longer you wait to refresh, the more prone you are to issues. And when you accelerate this adoption, the modern workplace, the costs become more predictable. So when you start doing everything as a device as a service model, you roll in your security, you roll in your management, you can roll in your support, you roll in the device. Everything becomes very predictable. You know when you're going to retire systems, you know what it's going to be to put those new systems back into the environment. And it really becomes a consistent journey for our customers. And it really becomes a much easier management for both the finance side of the business as well as the IT manager managing that budget. So that's where you, like I said, you're going to see those efficiency. Any last words, John, that you like to share?
Yeah, no, just to summarize, is that, hey, you got to look at this as a journey, and, it's really important to have a plan. And then, so wherever you are in that journey, if you're just starting out or you're at the end of it, Insight and Dell Technologies together, we can help you get to where you need to be on that modernization path, and hopefully get you there a little bit faster. So I just want to thank you again for joining us today, Sharon, and
Yeah,
we really
thank you.
appreciate your continued partnership with yourself and Dell.
Thank you.
Have a good day.